In a time when both her race and gender stood against her, one woman refused to accept limits. Bessie Coleman dreamed of flying, not just above the clouds, but above prejudice, poverty, and fear itself. When no flight school in America would train her, she crossed an ocean to France, earned her license, and returned home as the first black woman and Native American to become a licensed pilot. In this video, we're telling the extraordinary story of Bessie Coleman, licensed to fly, the fearless aviator who broke barriers, inspired generations, and proved that the sky is never the limit when you believe in yourself. Before we take off, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell, because the greatest journeys begin when someone dares to rise above the impossible. A dream takes flight. Bessie Coleman was born in 1892 in Texas, into a family of sharecroppers. Life was hard, and opportunities were limited, especially for black women. She worked in the cotton fields as a child and had to walk miles to attend a small, segregated school. Despite these challenges, Bessie was always curious and ambitious. She loved reading and dreamed of doing something extraordinary with her life. In 1915, Bessie moved to Chicago looking for better opportunities. She worked as a manicurist in a barber shop, where she'd heard stories from pilots who had fought in World War I. These tales of flying high above the clouds fascinated her. She became obsessed with the idea of becoming a pilot herself. But there was one huge problem. No flight school in America would accept her. Why? Because she was black and she was a woman. The doors were completely shut. Rejection and determination. Bessie applied to every flight school she could find in the United States. Every single one turned her down. The racism of the time was brutal and unforgiving. Aviation was seen as a white man's domain, and the thought of a black woman flying was simply unacceptable to most people. Some schools didn't even bother to respond to her applications. But Bessie Coleman wasn't the type to accept defeat. She had support from some surprising places. Robert Abbott, the founder of the Chicago Defender newspaper, believed in her dream. He suggested something bold. If America wouldn't train her, why not go to France? French flight schools were more open-minded and didn't have the same racial barriers. It was a radical idea, but Bessie was ready for a radical solution. There was just one catch. She didn't speak French. So Bessie enrolled in language classes while still working full-time. She saved every penny she could. Learning a new language while working long hours wasn't easy, but she was determined. After months of preparation and saving, she finally had enough money for the journey. In 1920, Bessie Coleman boarded a ship to France, leaving everything familiar behind to chase her dream. Earning her wings in France. When Bessie arrived in France, she enrolled at the famous Caudron Brothers School of Aviation. The training was intense and dangerous. Early aircraft were fragile machines made of wood, wire, and fabric. Crashes were common, and many pilots died during training. Bessie had to learn how to handle these unpredictable planes in all kinds of weather conditions. She trained for 7 months, studying hard and practicing constantly. The French instructors were tough but fair. They treated her based on her skill, not her skin color. This was a completely new experience for Bessie. For the first time, she was judged purely on her ability to fly. On June 15, 1921, Bessie Coleman made history. She received her pilot's license from the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. She was now officially the first black woman in the world to hold an international pilot's license. She was also the first American woman of any race to earn an international pilot's license. This was a groundbreaking achievement that shocked many people back home. Coming home to a changed mission. When Bessie returned to the United States in 1922, she was a celebrity in black communities. Newspapers covered her achievement, and people were amazed by what she had accomplished. She could have simply enjoyed her fame, but Bessie had a bigger vision. She didn't just want to fly for herself. She wanted to open the skies for other black Americans. Bessie started performing at air shows across the country. She became known as Queen Bess and Brave Bessie. Her shows were spectacular. She would climb high into the sky, then dive toward the ground at terrifying speeds before pulling out at the last second. She performed loops and rolls that left crowds breathless. People who had never seen a black person fly were forced to confront their prejudices. Fighting against the odds. Being a barnstormer, traveling pilot, wasn't easy. Bessie faced constant racism and discrimination. Hotels often refused to give her rooms. Restaurants wouldn't serve her. She had to navigate a country that respected her flying skills, but still saw her as inferior because of her race. The aviation industry itself was still dangerous. Planes were unreliable, and safety regulations barely existed. Pilots often flew with minimal equipment and no backup plans. Bessie had several close calls during her career. In 1923, her plane's engine failed during a show in California. She crashed and suffered serious injuries, including a broken leg and several broken ribs. She spent months in the hospital recovering. Money was always tight too. Unlike white pilots who could find sponsors easily, Bessie struggled to fund her shows. She had to constantly book performances to make enough money to keep flying and to save for her dream flight school. Sometimes she took other jobs, including brief appearances in movies, to make ends meet. A dream cut short. By 1926, Bessie Coleman had become one of the most famous black women in America. She was finally close to making her dream of a flight school a reality. She had secured some funding and was scouting locations. She was scheduled to perform at an air show in Jacksonville, Florida, on May 1, 1926. The day before the show, Bessie went up for a practice flight with her mechanic, William Wills, who was piloting the plane. Bessie wasn't wearing a seatbelt because she wanted to lean over the side to survey the area for her parachute jump the next day. This was a common practice for barnstormers planning their stunts. A legacy that soars. Bessie Coleman's death shocked the nation. Thousands attended her memorial services in Florida and Chicago. Her funeral in Chicago drew more than 10,000 mourners. People from all walks of life came to honor the brave pilot who had broken so many barriers. Though her life was cut tragically short, Bessie's impact on aviation was profound. She inspired countless Black Americans to pursue careers in flying. During World War II, the Tuskegee Airmen, the famous group of Black military pilots, cited Bessie Coleman as an inspiration. Many of them had heard her speak or had been inspired by her story when they were young. In 1977, a group of Black women pilots formed the Bessie Coleman Aviators Club in her honor. Every year since 1931, Black pilots have performed a flyover of her grave in Chicago, dropping flowers in tribute. She has been honored with postage stamps, and schools and airports have been named after her. In 1995, she was inducted into the National Aviation Hall of Fame. Bessie Coleman proved that the sky wasn't the limit when you have courage and determination. She showed that barriers based on race and gender could be broken, even when the whole system seemed designed to keep you down. She didn't just earn a license to fly. She earned the right to dream big and showed others they could too. Bessie Coleman didn't just earn her license to fly. She earned her place in history. Her courage challenged the world to dream bigger and fight harder for equality in every field. What part of Bessie's story inspired you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how her legacy lifts you today. If you enjoyed this look at one of aviation's true pioneers, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who believes in breaking barriers. Until next time, stay bold, stay inspired, and never stop reaching for the sky.